Predicting and explaining why people engage in the learning process is a major issue in educational psychology. This presentation will provide a brief overview of some of the major issues involved in the study of motivation. My name is Bill Hewitt, and I'm Professor Emeritus at Valdosta State University and Adjunct Professor at Capella University. There are a number of different ways to define motivation, but most researchers agree that it is an internal state or condition that activates or energizes behavior and provides a direction for that behavior, and then addresses the persistence of behavior over time. What differentiates motivation from other psychological concepts, such as thinking, feeling, or intuiting, is that it is goal-oriented and involves action of some sort. That action might be internal, such as involved in solving a perplexing challenge, or overt, such as running a race. Different theorists have conflicting ideas on what counts as behavior. However, one concept that is widely accepted is known as the Yerkes-Dodson law that states that there is optimum level of motivation. Too little motivation and behavior does not get started, or too much and performance becomes impaired. This is an important issue when guiding a group of learners because whatever you do will likely be too little stimulation for some and too much for others. An educator has to address the majority in the middle and then provide extra support for those who might become overwhelmed and extra challenges for those who do not have enough. Motivation, as it applies to the learning process, is grounded in many of the learning and developmental theories we have discussed previously. They can be categorized as focusing on either external explanations, as in the case of operant conditioning, or internal explanations, as in the case of cognitive, affective, or conative theories, or both, as in the case of social cognition. Remember that operant conditioning researchers propose that all behavior is under control of consequences. Proponents of this approach look only at external stimuli for explanations of behavior change. As shown in the graphic, there are a variety of internal sources of motivation. Those who use biology as an explanation for motivation point to explanations such as hunger, thirst, or a focus on increasing or decreasing arousal, while those who focus on cognition point to people attempting to understand the world around them, or solve challenges or problems, or perhaps, in the case of Piagetian theorists, to maintain an equilibrium between one's mental representations and the demands of the environment. Those researchers who focus on affect and emotions point to the importance of increasing pleasant or positive feelings such as happiness or joy, or decreasing or avoiding unpleasant feelings such as anxiety or depression, or perhaps to the importance of values. Those researchers who focus on human agency or conation point to the importance of a person's dreams for a better life, or specific desired goals such as losing 10 pounds, or perhaps displaying mastery in an area such as academics or sports, while those researchers who focus on the spiritual domain focus on the importance of living a life of meaning and purpose. And, as previously mentioned, social cognitive theory researchers point to the interactions among those different motives as people interpret their thoughts and feelings when they observe models or involved in social situations. There are some important cognitive theories that one is likely to encounter when studying motivation. One is Bernard Weiner's attribution theory. This theory states that people will create explanations for performance based on two dimensions: internal, external, and no control, control. Those who use an internal and no control attribution will say they were successful because they had a high level of ability, or unsuccessful because they had a low level. Likewise, those who use an external or control attribution would say that the teacher gave them an easy task if they were successful, or a task that was too difficult if they were unsuccessful. Researchers have shown that it's preferred for the learner to use effort as the explanation for success or failure because it is under the control of the learner and therefore can be changed by the learner. Parents and teachers can encourage the use of this attribution by always referring to this explanation as a reason for success or failure. This helps the learner to develop what Carol Dweck discussed as a growth mindset. A related theory is Victor Vroom's expectancy theory. Vroom proposed there are three elements involved in motivation. The first is the individual's expectation for successful completion of the specific task. The second is the connection between success on the task and the overall reward or goal to which the task is connected. This is referred to as the instrumentality of the task. The third element is the value placed on the person's goal. Vroom proposed that these elements form an equation where each is multiplied by the others. Therefore, a 0 or low rating for any single element will result in no or low motivation. These two theories can be quite useful when talking with learners about their goals and expectations and connecting learning tasks to those that are mentioned by the learner. A third cognitive approach is provided by Jean Piaget, who describes the importance of the individual using or creating new mental structures to meet the demands of the environment. From this perspective, the teacher can create motivation by placing learners in situations that do not match the knowledge or skills the learner has already acquired. This harkens back to the Yerkes-Dodson law discussed previously. Too little or too much disequilibrium will not result in optimal motivation. A humanistic theory one encounters when studying motivation is provided by Abraham Maslow and his theory of human needs. He proposed there is a hierarchy of needs that begin with physiological needs and then proceeds to needs for safety, belongingness, and esteem. These have been labeled deficiency needs. Maslow's original hierarchy included one growth need that he labeled self-actualization. Others noted that the lowest levels of self-actualization included the need to know and to understand, and a need for aesthetics or beauty. Maslow later added the growth need of self-transcendence, or concern for the growth of others, to his hierarchy. Unfortunately, there is not a lot of empirical support for its efficacy, although it is very popular because of its holistic nature. There are a number of other theories that propose specific elements but are not arranged hierarchically. And one of the best known is McClelland's theory of motivation that includes a need for achievement, success, or mastery, a need for affiliation or interpersonal connections, and a need for authority, power, or control. This theory is used extensively in organizational psychology. A similar theory is Edward Deci's and Richard Ryan's self-determination theory. These researchers propose that human beings have three inherent growth needs: a need for autonomy or independence, a need for competency or mastery, and a need for relatedness or affiliation. A theory that is widely used in educational psychology is goal theory, which posits four types of goals: achievement or performance goals, where the objective is to look good to others or to earn an external reward such as a good grade; learning or mastery goals, where the objective is to demonstrate competence in acquiring knowledge or skills; social goals, where the focus is on belonging to or fitting in with a group, or perhaps being seen as important by members of a group; and work avoidance goals, where the focus is on expending as little effort as possible. For the most part, research has shown that learners in mastery goals will perform better in academic settings, but most people have goals in all four types, as they use in different situations. A popular theory that is also used in organizational psychology is Daniel Pink's drive theory. He proposed three primary human needs: a need for autonomy or independence, a need for mastery or competence, and a need for personal meaning and purpose in one's life. A theory that is currently gaining in popularity is Martin Seligman's Flourishing Theory. It is comprised of 5 elements: a need for positive emotions, a need for engagement or flow, a need for positive relations or affiliations, a need for meaning and purpose in one's life, and a need for achievement or mastery. Seligman refers to this theory as the PERMA theory of human flourishing. A recent addition to a holistic view of motivation is Beatrice's Valdemara's Wheel of Motives. A foundational concept of her theory is that people are motivated to approach ideas, people, or objects they identify as pleasant and avoid or move away from those they identify as aversive. She hypothesized 10 motives, 5 that involves aspects people might be more likely to approach, and 5 involve aspects that focus on avoidance. The 5 motives she labels as approach motives are achievement, exploration, contribution, autonomy, and power. The motives of achievement, autonomy, and power were seen in many of the previously presented theories, while exploration might be considered similar to arousal, and contribution might be seen as similar to Maslow's need for self-transcendence. The avoidance needs are displayed as being in tension to the 5 approach motives. Hedonism or sensual pleasure is in tension with achievement and effort to develop mastery, while security is seen as being in tension with exploration. Conservation is seen as being in tension with contribution, and affiliation is seen as being in tension with autonomy. Finally, cooperation is seen as being in tension with power or control. Valderrama built her framework as a useful aid in organizational psychology, but I believe this will be equally useful in educational psychology, as it provides a way to think about developing profiles for learners in situations as educators create activities that will motivate learners. In summary, motivation theorists and researchers propose that all behavior is motivated. That is, it is goal-oriented, even if the individual is not aware of what exactly that motive or goal might be. There is no single factor or variable that can be used to explain motivation, and there is no single theory that is useful for all people in all situations. Rather, parents and educators must use multiple theories to provide a profile that might predict and explain what motivates individuals and how that might change in specific situations. So, what does all of this mean for classroom motivation? The first issue to consider is what might be done to motivate those who are externally motivated. Several suggestions include making sure that clear expectations for success have been provided and understood by learners, teachers providing corrective feedback as quickly as possible, both during and after learners have engaged in the learning process, teachers providing rewards that are considered valuable to the learners and those are made readily available, especially at the beginning of the learning experience. Learners providing the opportunity to observe models demonstrating mastery performances, and teachers consistently providing scaffolding or extra assistance during the learning process. At the same time, educators must use methods that promote intrinsic motivation and self-regulation. Some suggestions include becoming aware of and attempting to meet learners' needs, providing explanations of the relatively immediate importance of the present learning activity, allowing learners to make selections about topics or learning activities, using demonstrations or engaging in activities that create curiosity, using elements of gaming such as awarding of badges or demonstrating mastery or engaging in competition among teams, helping the students set personal goals, and helping them to develop and monitor an action plan for attaining those goals. A thorough study of the motivational theories, research, and practices can be useful for both educators and learners alike.